Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, that's your hat. It's the other guy's hat. This is a lot harder than I expected. Okay, great, yeah, I'll give it a go. Why am I Australian now? You're Australian, I'm just a normal voice. Jesus. So these got a little bit wet yesterday. And I think it's safe to say there'll be no golf for me today. Right, before we get stuck into this video, I just want to get one thing clear and out of the way. And that is that I'm not a PJ professional, I'm not a qualified club fitter, so I'm not here to tell you what golf clubs you should or shouldn't buy. And that's actually 3 things, isn't it? What a brilliant start. The purpose of this video is to hopefully help you avoid making the biggest mistake that most people make through no fault of their own when they go and buy new golf clubs. And that is not understanding lofts. Now, I know lofts sound pretty sort of boring and conversations about lofts can get pretty geeky pretty quickly, so I'm not looking to get into all that. I just want to make a quite simple explanation of what happens when you go for a golf club fitting. I'm talking about irons mainly, and how quite often people get sort of thrown and end up buying the wrong thing because they don't understand what they're being sold. So to help simplify things, I have filmed a bit of undercover footage in a golf shop at a golf fitting. Hi there, golf shop employee. I'm thinking about buying some new irons. New irons? Oh mate, yeah, you've come to the right place. Oh, you're Australian, are you? Yeah, I guess so. I basically just wanted my voice to be different to yours, but I've sort of started like this now, so I guess I've kind of got to carry on with it. Right, yeah, anyway, about those irons. Yeah mate, new irons, no problem whatsoever. Is that your old set you got there? Let me have a little look at that. Oh Christ, these are like 3 years old mate, what are you doing? Would you like to snap these in half now? Whoa, whoa, hold on there, I mean I still like those irons. I just sort of thought maybe there was something that would be better for me. Just wanted to kind of come in and maybe test some, see if you could help me out. Yeah, no problem, skipper. Lucky for you, we've got the old laser radar, Super Bowl, projectile, tracker, gizmo, Mark IV quad thing. Right, I mean, look, here's what we'll do, mate. We'll get you to hit your 7-iron a few times on the thing I just named, the robot thing. And then we'll get you to hit some new ones and we can compare. All about the daily, you know? Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, that's kind of why I came in really, because I wanted to know, you know, that if I was going to buy a new set, it was definitely worth it. Obviously, I don't want to spend, you know, £1,000 on something that's actually no better than what I've got at the moment. So that sounds brilliant. Right, mate, so yeah, hit that 3 times. Right, mate, so I've got all your data here from your own club, your own 7-iron, on this iPad. Is that not a dinner mat? iPad, not a dinner mat. Anyway, I can see you hitting this one about 145 yards on average. Why don't you have a crack with this one? This is new in, mate, just come in today. Okay, great, yeah, I'll give it a go. Wow, man, you're hitting that one 165 yards. That's 165, 145, carry the 3, divided by the day of the week. That's another, that's another 20 yards, mate. That's massive. Wow, yeah, I had no idea the difference would be that big. Oh yeah, mate, I mean, these clubs are off the charts, you know. It's like they've got the super injection pumpo foam, and then they've got the red hot kettle face, injected steroids here in the toe, and then in the heel, they've got the 6-inch stiletto, and then they've got the hotter than a pita bread straight out the toaster face. So stuff's just coming off that like red hot, mate. Okay, cool. I mean, I guess if I can hit it 20 yards further with each club, that's going to make the game a lot easier for me, isn't it? And I guess that's the whole point of getting new clubs. Yeah, that's exactly right, mate. And it'll help me hit my bonus this month. What's that? Oh, nothing. Inside voice, Rodney. Inside voice. Anyway, mate, what do you say? You going to go for a set of these? Now, hold on. Dodgy accents aside, that might actually seem like quite a successful fitting. A golfer comes away with a 7-iron that he can hit 20 yards further than his old one, and there aren't many golfers who would say no to an extra bit of distance. But there is a problem. And it's not the fact that you were straight out of the car and cold when you were hitting your own club, compared to a bit warmed up when you were hitting the new one. It's not really the fact that you're only comparing a 7-iron versus a 7-iron, so you're not comparing, the other clubs in the bag, i.e. 3-iron or 4-iron at one end and a sort of wedge at the other end. It's not the fact that the fitter sometimes deletes any particularly bad shots that you hit with the new club, which kind of skews the results. And it's not even that some, and not many, but some unscrupulous fitters can actually tweak the settings on the launch monitor to give the clubs they want you to buy an unfair advantage, so they can change the altitude or the temperature or whatever, which makes the new club look like it's performing even better. A big problem with most fittings isn't actually any of those things, although they're not great, obviously. The biggest problem, and the thing that kind of undermines a lot of these fittings almost completely, is that the lofts aren't the same on the clubs that you're comparing. But I'll hear you ask, why does that even matter? Well, I'll tell you. Right, so my 7-iron is a Ping I-25. My 7-iron has got 33 degrees of loft, and I hit it about 160 yards. Okay, my 6-iron, 30 degrees of loft, hit it about 170. My 5-iron, 27 degrees of loft, hit it about 180. Now, if I were to get a set of Callaway Rogue X irons, and by the way, I'm not picking on Callaway here, I could pick any sort of super strong lofted set from any manufacturer. I'm just using these ones to make a point. The 7-iron in that set has got 27 degrees of loft. It's called a 7-iron, but as you can see, it's basically the same as my 5-iron. So I'd probably hit that 180 yards. I'd also probably get about 5,000 RPM of spin, same as I'd get with my 5-iron. So which one is it more comparable to? My 5-iron or my 7-iron? It's the 5-iron. Now, you're probably thinking, who cares? But ultimately, you should, if you're the one who is buying clubs based on the proviso that they go further than your current ones. You're led to believe in some of these fittings that it's great, the new 7-iron goes so much further than your old one, but all that's happened is that they've scrubbed out the 6 or even the 5-iron effectively and written 7 on the bottom of it. So obviously it goes further, it goes the same as your old 5-iron because it is the same as your old 5-iron. And why is that a problem? It doesn't matter, 7-iron's going further than your old one, who cares about all this nerdy loft crap that Rob's talking about? The problem is trying to say the word problem. The problem is that generally, well not generally, unequivocally, the less loft you've got, the harder something is to hit. That's why it's easier to hit a wedge than a 1-iron. If your 7-iron's only got 27 degrees of loft, you'll find your longer irons much harder to hit because they've now got so little loft. So obviously you're going to end up with a 4-iron or 3-iron which has got almost the same loft as your driver, which is mental. That is a big reason why a lot of people can't hit and don't hit 3-irons anymore, and even 4-irons are becoming less and less used, so people are using hybrids instead. And with less loft, you'll generally get a lower launch and lower spin. But that means if you've now got a 7-iron with less loft, it's harder to, say, carry over obstacles around greens. Sometimes they put bunkers there and actually stop the ball on the green. And another problem, full of them, is that these super strong lofts give you problems at the other end of your bag. So it might be nice for my ego to hit my pitching wedge 160 yards, but if I'm doing that, then what clubs have I got to cover all the yardages down from there? I need to hit shots 130 yards, 120 yards, 110 yards, 100 yards, 90 yards. You're either going to have to get very, very good at hitting kind of half shots, 3/4 shots to cover a massive range of yardages, or you're going to have to carry about 6 different wedges in your bag. I'm not saying that we should be playing traditional blades with traditional lofts and there's no place for these more powerful distance game improvement irons. There's a lot of golfers who just need as much distance as they can get, and they're less worried really about spin and stopping things on the green because that's not the way they're really playing the game. What I am saying is that as consumers, we should be aware of this when we're going for fittings. If you're going to spend 900 quid, £1,000 or whatever on a set of irons, you should know what you're being sold and why you're buying it. As manufacturers know that most people aren't going to be looking at the specification sheet and comparing the lofts of their old set versus the new set. So they're going to come out of any fitting thinking, that was brilliant, I'm hitting my new 7-iron 15 or 20 yards further than the old one. And I don't think it's all about, manufacturers or club fitters kind of tricking us. I think a lot of the time there's just a lack of understanding. I've seen loads of reviews from, decent professionals talking about like hotter faces and injection this and that, and that's why the ball's going further, ignoring the fact that it's just the loft. So the RNA and the USGA in America basically have rules on how kind of hot a club face can be. So any club that a manufacturer makes has to be tested, and if it's too hot, then it's non-conforming, so basically they wouldn't release it because nobody would buy it. So the only way for them to get that extra distance is by decreasing the lofts. Now, lofts vary a lot from one set to the next, so you can still buy a set of kind of what they'd call better player irons or blades, where the 7-iron might have 34 or even 35 degrees of loft, whereas you can get obviously what they call kind of game improvement, generally your sort of bigger head distance irons, which might have, as we've seen, as little as 27 degrees of loft in a 7-iron. But generally, lofts are getting stronger and stronger as the years go by, because manufacturers are strengthening those lofts so they can say, look at our 7-iron, you're now hitting this 390 yards. I've got a quote from Tom Wisham, who is a massive expert guru club fitter. Each year, in order to say their clubs hit further, the club companies have been tinkering with the loft angles, lowering them a bit at a time each year. As a result, every club in the set has moved up at least one, if not two numbers. So, when you go to a driving range for a demo day and you find you're hitting a new 6-iron further than your current 5-iron, you now know why. It's because the shiny new 6-iron in your hands was a 5-iron only a few years ago, and probably a 4-iron a few years before that. So where's it going to end? Are we going to end up with pitching wedges that have got 15 degrees of loft because then we can hit them 200 yards? I just don't like this as a sales tactic. I feel like it's a bit as if you went to buy a new car because you wanted one that goes faster, and all they did was scrub out miles per hour on your speedo, writing kilometres an hour, and say, look, there you go, you're going nearly twice as fast now. And you're sort of thinking, well, am I? That's probably a terrible analogy. It looks like it's doing something a lot better than before, but actually it's not. What you really do need from a set of irons, and if you go for fitting, then this is what you should be hopefully trying to achieve, is a set that go consistent distances throughout the bag with consistent spin club by club. The actual lofts on each iron is irrelevant. And when you've got your irons, you'd almost be better off just scrubbing out the number on the bottom. As we've seen, that number doesn't actually really mean anything, and writing in your carry distances with each club. There's quite a few tour pros who do that, because that number is the one that matters. You need to know how far you hit that club, not what the manufacturers decided to call it this year. It's that carry number that determines whether you end up pin high with a makeable birdie putt or 10 yards short of the green in a bunker with a horrible up and down. I hope this has made some sense and been useful. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Have you been for a fitting? Have you ever bought clubs based on the fact they go further? Is that what you're looking for? Am I an idiot? Which is quite possible. This is all my opinion, but I just worry that more and more people are being sold irons based on this notion of, oh look, my new 7-iron goes further than my old one, when actually all you've got now is a 6-iron with 7 written on it. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, one of them, I guess. If you haven't already, then please do subscribe, and I will see you very soon for another video. See you very soon for another video. What am I doing? Still don't know how to sign off a video. Video sign off, don't know what to do. Video sign off, don't know what to do.